Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday, y'all. Happy Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursday. I'm Nicole Roberts Jones, your Bankroll Your Brilliance expert. Always excited and blessed to hold the space for you to do three things when we're here together. One is to get clear on what your brilliance is. Now, brilliance is my up leveled work for purpose because you got to realize that God gave you purpose on purpose. And when you're doing it and being it, oh, your light is on, which is why I call it brilliance. The second is a value tied to it. And there's so many conversations we can have around that. And then the third is how to create multiple streams of income from it. So our guest today is going all the way in the second area, the value tied to it. Why? The one thing I tell my clients and those of you that are here with me week after week is that your business can never outgrow you. And so you've always got to check in with you. And so before I bring in our guest up, hey, Love, and hey, Eliza, I hope I'm saying your name right. Come on in. Tell me hello. Tell me name. Tell me where you're from. As our guest for this week begins to share, because I know she's going to drop some nuggets. Number one, do you have a pen? Do you have some paper? And as she's sharing, if you have a question, please feel free to add it in here and we'll ask it. If she is saying anything that resonates with you, I want you to give her some hearts, some claps, some fire emojis, whatever you're feeling. But I want you to get this. We're here for you. So the only way we can hear you here in this Facebook place, this live stream medium, and some of you are watching on YouTube as well, I'm sure, is if you make comments. So listen, there's 24 of y'all that are here live, and I'm going to tell you like my grandmother does. Don't you come in this house and not speak. Well, when she was alive. And this is our virtual house. You're in my virtual room today, so at least say hello as we begin to pour into you for this segment. So I'm beyond excited to bring to you Dr. Rhonda M. Wood. Now, Dr. Rhonda is an international empowerment speaker, an author, and mental health advocate. She has been leveraging her over 30 years of corporate experience and impacts audiences with her mission to normalize and destigmatize mental health conversations. Listen, I don't think I've ever seen destigmatize written down. That's why I was like, I had to pause for a minute. She trains individuals and corporations worldwide on how to shatter mental health stigmas. And listen, I think this is the perfect place, Black doctor, because so many Black folks think mental health, when you go to counseling, when you go get support around your mindset, that you're crazy. And what I say is you're crazy when you don't. Oh, I've been to counseling. So in line with her unyielding passion for helping women succeed and her desire to embrace compassion, awareness, and acceptance, Dr. Rhonda founded RMW Enterprises, a global movement that focuses on helping women win from within. Now, she might focus on women, but I'm sure I can say that there are also a few good men that benefit from her. So it's just because you're a man watching this, don't discount what she's going to teach. She specializes in reclaiming the power within, making peace with your past, and prospering in purpose so that you are empowered to reach your highest potential personally and professionally. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Dr. Rhonda M. Wood. Hey, girl.
Hi, Dr. Nicole. I am so excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
So excited. And I love this conversation. As I said a few minutes ago, as a people, Black folks just discount mental health. And I really believe, and listen, this is not studied. So this is a thing that Nicole is going to say. So this may be politically incorrect, but I believe that's slave mentality because we didn't have the luxury to stop and really check in with ourselves. And if we did have an emotional moment, we would get beat, sold, something. So tell us, the meaning of different faces of mental health.
Sure, absolutely. So I love talking about mental health advocacy. And during my, advocacy time in advocating for mental health and destigmatizing conversations, what I realized is, man, mental health and mental illness has many faces. Mental health symptoms look different from person to person, right? So a lot of people do not look or act like they are dealing with a mental health challenge, such as depression, anxiety, maybe PTSD, or maybe even suicidal thoughts. Yeah. And so sometimes we expect mental health sufferers to show signs of maybe downheartedness or to show signs of isolation or show signs of nervousness. In other words, we expect the symptoms to always be external. But what we don't realize is that many people who may be experiencing mental health challenges or symptoms may very well be in your presence and have their head held up high, have a big smile on their face, and appear to be like everything is okay. When in reality, probably beneath the surface, they're masking some level of emotional pain. So when I say, wow, mental health has many faces, that's what I mean. Because one of the things that I hear a lot is, well, that person didn't look depressed. Or, if somebody's admitted to the hospital, even if they have suicidal thoughts or ideations, or even if they, decide to die by suicide, a lot of people say, well, I didn't know that they were even going through anything.
Yeah.
And so what I realize is that a lot of people are high functioning. They have high functioning depression. They have high functioning anxiety, or they have, high functioning symptoms, meaning they can get up and go to work and smile and go to bake sales and go to cheerleading practice and still be experiencing mental health problems.
And I think we as Black folks have this down on lock, as we would say, if we're going to use slang, because we learned to put on a good face. So just because, like you said, you can have on the perfect face, the perfect outfit, you could have the car, the everything that looks like you are happy and that you've arrived, and be totally depressed, broken, downhearted, and not know what to do about it. And sometimes the secret, you feel like something is disconnected, and really you're just disconnected from something that you just might need a little needle-point shift to get reconnected.
Absolutely. That's so true, Dr. Nicole. And if I can just be really transparent and vulnerable for a minute, that person was me. And I think it's a lot of us. And I think the reason why is because that's the expectation. It's not, we live in a world where we're not expected to be open about how we're genuinely feeling. And that's where the stigma comes in, because we fear the rejection. We fear not being accepted. We are walking in that shame. And so we're suffering in silence and solitude, especially if we are working people, career people, people who get up and go to work every day. Man, some of us are dragging ourselves, out of bed in the morning, and we're dragging ourselves to, and we're trying to do these functions, and that's what mental health is to be able to function in your normal day-to-day activities, emotionally and socially and things of that nature. But some of us aren't able to do that effectively. And so, yes, I was that person, getting up every day, going to work, still supporting my daughter, cooking dinner, helping with homework, doing the cheerleading practice, being there for everyone, when really I really needed to take the time out and prioritize me. And you know what else, Dr. Nicole? It's especially true in the workplace, especially like you talked about, people of color, or maybe even women. In my corporate career, there were a lot of instances where I was in rooms and environments where not everybody looked like me. Sometimes I was the only female. Sometimes I was the only Black person. And so I was like, man, Rhonda, pull it together, because you don't want to look weak. You don't want to look like you can't handle this role. They don't want to hear that you're stressed out or overwhelmed. You fought so hard to get to where you are. You've climbed that corporate ladder. You have that seat at the table. So, girl, you better prove you belong there. And so what we do is we suppress and we push our emotions and our feelings and what we're going through aside, and we just cope and we just deal and we just suffer through. But those habits and behaviors are not healthy for us.
Yes. Okay, so I was going to out myself. I'll tell my story in a minute. I think this one is even more important. So I remember maybe about 10 years ago, a corporation hired me to coach. And typically when I'm coaching a corporation, it's really helping people get in the right seat on the bus. And so particular was a white man that hired me. Let me keep it all the way real, since we're a Black doctor. And he hired me to coach a group of Black executives, where this Black woman said, and I quote, my boss called me an angry Black woman. Now, listen, y'all. The person I was experiencing on the phone, she was funky. She was not nice. I was like, as a Black woman, can I tell you, I do feel anger. So let me say this, y'all. And this is so in alignment with what Dr. Rhonda just said. And I need y'all to get this. So she kept saying to me, I'm just here to talk about my job. I was like, okay, I get that. But I feel something else is present. So I kept asking the questions, kept getting angry and kept getting angry. Here's what I finally got to the root of. And Dr. Rhonda just said this. I'm giving you a living, breathing example. She finally said, well, my husband is leaving. And I said, well, you said it so fast. I said, and how do you feel about that? And she paused. I could tell her pause was to try to keep herself from crying. So then I said, so what else is it? And then by then the waterworks are coming, y'all. So she said, my husband wants a divorce. My kids are done. My friends are done with me. And so I said to her, that's what you're angry about. And then the waterworks came. And so I said to her, you know, why do we, let me ask you guys a question. Why do we feel like we have to work on our career and work on our career and work on our career and leave ourselves behind? Which means we ultimately, for her, she was leaving her husband, her kids, her friends, all the things she really loved were getting put on a back seat to climb the corporate ladder. So here's what I suggested to her. And I want y'all to get this. First of all, I said, do you have health insurance? Okay, great. I need you to find a counselor. Number one.
Yes.
Number two, let's look at what are some of the things that your husband has complained about. So I want you guys to get this. All it takes a strategy to pull you out of it. And because we're successful, we think we should know. That's why I'm putting my quotes up, because this was me. So I'm out myself. And then I'm sharing this. I want y'all to see examples. Now, Dr. Rhonda out herself. I feel like it's not fair if I don't out myself. Mm-hmm. So I had many of you that come here week after week. You know, my first career was in the entertainment industry. It was a job I've dreamed of since I was little. But I'm going to tell y'all, the Nicole that I was mean and funky. I was an angry Black woman too. Wow. So I grew up in an abusive household. The way that I learned to cope with my feelings. Now, on top of that, I'm from South Central LA. And if I'm being real, I was never Black enough. I was called white girl when I was growing up. And yes, I'm not mixed with anything except for maybe Massa was in my slave quarter. Okay, I need to do my ancestry. But the only thing I know I am is Black. Okay, let me keep it all the way real. So because of that, I started being things and doing things to find acceptance. But in the darker than I was by myself, I hated myself. Mm-hmm. So I thought I could mask it by having this mean, like those of you that saw the movie The Devil Wears Prada, the boss, yeah, that was me. I was mean and funky. Mm. And so it wasn't until I started working with teenage girls at my church that one of them called me out, and I thought, "Ooh, who are you?" And so to make a long story short, because I could do a whole episode on all the things that I was dealing with, the abuse that was in my household, the fact that I didn't feel good enough, it was when I hired a counselor at 26. That the reason my business kept failing, you guys, is I was failing. And what I mean by that is your gifts, your talents, the role you play at work, whether even if it's a mom, whatever that is, those roles all bump up against who you be. And if you're not running on a full tank, I was on E and didn't even know it, then you can't be anything to anybody if you're nothing to yourself. So
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, because I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that. Absolutely.
So tell us, what are some of the biggest challenges? Because listen, we can go in, and I want you guys to get this. If you are someone that is in a place where you're stressed out on a daily basis, if you are depressed, if you're in overwhelm, I want to encourage you to get the help you need. Right? Some of that might be to reach out to Dr. Rhonda, and we'll tell you how to do that in a few. But those of you that have health insurance, you better use that insurance to its fullest and go get your counseling appointments that are connected to your health insurance.
Absolutely.
So tell us some of the health challenges. Sorry, go ahead, we face.
So since we're on Black Doctor, right? Let's talk about some of the things that in particular Black people go through. So, and not necessarily just Black people, but I think Black people can relate to this the most. But I know that for me, when I was going through issues with having my own mental health challenges, not only that, but supporting my daughter who was experiencing mental health. And, Dr. Nicole, when you talked about, the slave mentality, a lot of this is generational. A lot of what we're going through with our mental health symptoms, it has been passed down through generations and generations and generations. And when it got to me, and when I sort of realized what the pattern was, I said, okay, it's going to stop. It's going to stop with me. That's how I kind of came into even this advocacy work, is the, educating myself and, and understanding what the symptoms are and what the signs are and what the triggers are and what the coping is and what and what environments, it shows up in. And so what I realized is, wow, this is not normal. This is why I love this segment, how it's called the new normal of mental health. The new normal is that we need to normalize being able to be open and have conversations about how we're really doing and feeling. How are we checking in with each other? Checking in, and we always talk about this, especially those people who appear strong, especially those people who everything is okay. The woman that you talked about, when she finally broke down, it was almost like you unlocked, or actually you didn't even unlock it. You just pulled her out of a prison cell that wasn't even locked.
Wait, girl, wait, because I was good. She just She got pulled out of a prison cell that wasn't even locked. Do y'all get that? Visualize that.
Yes.
So when you
Yes.
were, it's locked, you don't have a key. She's saying that that
Mhm.
woman put herself in a
Yes.
prison cell that wasn't even locked. And I want y'all to get this. I believe in, tell me if I'm wrong, Dr. Rhonda, when things people do to you and say to you, that wasn't something that you chose, but you
Right.
choose to keep it on you when you don't do the work to let it go.
Right. So we say all the time, yes, you have no control over the things that happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
The way, our childhood trauma or even our adulthood trauma, things that we experience at the hands of other people, even in the workplace, maybe even by family members, we didn't have any control over that. But right now, we have control over how we respond to it. We have control over how long we allow it to keep us a prisoner and hold us down and hold us back and keep us from being the person that we were destined to be. So I just want to go over just like really quickly a few challenges that I think a lot of people can probably relate to. One is this obligation to feeling like you have to be strong. I have to be strong no matter what, no matter what's going on in my life, no matter what's going on internally with me, this obligation that you have to always be and appear strong. The second one is feeling this obligation to suppress your emotions, right? So the woman that you were talking about when the waterworks started, man, she's probably been wanting to cry and let that out for a while. And she probably felt such a relief. But we even have issues that, with continuously having to keep pushing emotions down so that we keep pushing forward. Feeling like we don't have time to cry or take care of ourselves or nurture our true feelings and emotions. The other part is related to that is feeling a resistance to vulnerability, feeling like I don't need any help.
Look, I'm trying to type your steps. Look, I'm trying to keep up with you.
Oh,
And
I'm sorry.
because she's going, and I want you guys, the reason I'm writing these up here, these are things that some of y'all are walking past. So check yourself.
Yes,
Okay, sorry.
yes. So the first one is an obligation to be strong. The second one is the obligation to suppress your emotions. The third one is the resistance to vulnerability and feeling like you don't need any help. A lot of us have a hard time reaching out for help. And I love that you, Dr. Nicole, talked about the therapy part. I think that is so important, but I also feel like that's connected to a stigma. Feeling like, no, only certain people go to therapists. And that's one of the best decisions that I made was asking for help. It was hard. I will tell you, it was hard going to my boss, sharing this with my family, because again, you're afraid of the rejection. What are people going to think? Especially when my loved one, when my child started to experience mental health, you start to feel like a failure. You start to feel like a bad parent, right? So, but being able to ask for help is not a sign of weakness. It is not a sign of weakness. One of the most important and strongest decisions that I've ever made. No regrets there.
Right. So I got to give you guys one of my favorite vulnerable people in the world is Oprah. Now, whether
Yes.
you or not, and this is why I miss her show, y'all, because nobody's doing it like Oprah, where she would let us into all her mess, all it, and really her mess became her message because she began to show us how to do it. I think the reason why so many of us love Oprah was because she was vulnerable.
Absolutely.
So if you think about it, she never tried to be perfect, and I don't know who told us that we had to be perfect along the way.
Right. Exactly. That's another issue, is this feeling of, not striving for excellence, which I understand. Hey, I want to do a great job, or I want to do this great, or I want to be good at this, but the striving for the perfection part, that sort of, and then, then you start to feel that the issues of sadness and the anxiety. So mental health symptoms can come from even that, having that, feeling of perfection. And I have just two more really quickly. So another one is, and I think we all can relate to this, or many of us can relate to this, is this obligation that we have to help others. Feeling like we are responsible. It is our job to do X, Y, and Z. Right. And sometimes we're taking on things that, probably they didn't even ask us to do. That's not even asked of us, but feeling like we have to step in and save the day for other people.
Oh, okay. Can I add to that? Because listen, she's saying all kind of nuggets that I've learned, y'all. So that's why I keep it, because it's so good. I think some of y'all, she's going through them not necessarily quickly, but because some of this stuff you guys haven't heard, it is quick. So I remember when I realized that I was serving from an empty cup. So what do I mean
Mm.
by that? So don't talk about my water, okay? So yeah, water. But say I had a saucer under here, right? When I drink all the way down, there's nothing in here. Or if I'm driving my car's on empty. If I don't ever stop at a gas station to fill it up. So when
Wow.
you do things out of obligation, and you're giving and you're giving and you're giving. The other example that just popped in my spirit is if I go into the bank to the ATM, I was going to say Versatile.
Wow.
Those of you that remember Versatile, I'm about to age myself. ATM. When you go to the ATM and keep taking money out and you keep taking money out and you keep taking money out, but you never put money back in. You stopping to check in with your mental health and giving you what you need is putting money back into your own mental health account. So good,
Yes.
Rhonda. So,
Yes. I
what's
love
next?
that. Thank you so much. And I just want to share like one more, and this is resonates with me. This was definitely me. Is this determination to succeed despite anything? You we put ourselves in situations sometimes where we always feel like, well, I should be doing more. I could be
Mhm.
doing more. Sometimes that pressure is put on us by the world, by society, right? Sometimes the world says, well, by this age or by this time or by this period in your life, you should have this, or you should be in this place, or you should have established these things. And so you
Mm.
feel this determination to succeed. And let me say, mental health doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care where you are in life. It doesn't care of your age. It affects people who are in elementary school as well as people who are elderly. Different generations. It doesn't care how many letters you have behind your name or in front of your name. It doesn't care if you're in the classroom or the boardroom. It doesn't care if your social
Mhm.
economic status, how much money you have in the bank, or the size square footage of your home. It can affect anyone. So, we kind of, when we sort of have these issues, it costs us our relationship, it costs us our emotional health, and sometimes our physical health. It can cause stress and overwhelm. And some of the mental health diagnoses that you see, about 1 in 5 people struggle with these mental health symptoms.
And they never get them assessed, so they don't even realize they have mental health system. Symptoms. I think that's one of the
Right.
saddest things, and I'm saying that because I didn't realize how funky I was and how bitter I
Mhm.
was. Right? I love
Right.
that Lisa said, "I now suffer my overflow, not my full cup." Come on, Lisa. So is it because you went to mental health? Right? Tell us, what did you do to shift? And what I've learned is I've got to make sure and check in with me. I've got to stop. And when something feels off, don't blame it on that thing. I used to walk around talking about all men are dogs. Now, y'all, this is related to mental health because what happens is because one person did something to me, now I make every person responsible or play into that one script. Now, listen, I kept being in the same movie over and over again, right? I kept dating the same man over again. And I kept blaming men. And I stopped until the day I said, hold on, wait a minute. The same player in every movie is me. So if I don't do something to really look at why I keep starring in the same movie, and that's exactly how I told one of my girlfriends when I went to counseling and really began to realize that what I was bumping up against was the abuse that was in my household. And that
Mm.
although I wasn't dealing with physical abuse, I was dealing with mental abuse and I didn't know it.
Right. Absolutely. Or even emotional abuse. You know,
Mm.
people can be nice on the outside, especially in relationships. They can be very nice on the outside, but there
Right.
can still be emotional abuse, which is much more hidden. So yeah, absolutely. So, in order to sort of counter these behaviors and thoughts and patterns, um, three really quick solutions is, to leave the past in the past. When you read my bio, you talked about making peace with your past. And I think that is
Mm.
so important. I think that's where a lot of depression is
Yeah.
connected to, is we're living in the past.
Hmm.
And second thing I think is to be unapologetic about prioritizing us. And so for me, what that meant is I had to shift the narrative. So the
Hmm.
narrative would be, and I think, this again, I think the world would tell us that we give a lot of honor and kudos to people who are doing a lot. If we see a mother who's, man, she takes care of her husband, she takes care of her kid, we should do those things. but not in sacrificial, not to sacrifice our own mental well-being. So
Mm-hmm.
what we don't do is we don't give the kudos to a mom or a career woman who's like, man, look at her with her self-care. Look
Yeah,
at her
look at her having the
prioritizing work,
nanny so she can
taking
do what
time
she needs to
out.
do. Right? Yes,
Yes.
I love
Yes.
it.
Yes. So, that's what I mean by this is the new normal of mental health. Now, there is
Mhm.
probably not a person on the planet who has not been affected by the things that have been going on in the world, whether it's
Woo.
politics, whether it's, what's going on in other countries, whether it's this global pandemic. And
Yeah,
so what we've noticed is that, hey, the rates of mental health symptoms have risen. They're much higher now. So
right.
we need to be even more diligent about prioritizing our own well-being. We
Mhm,
are not able to. I love how you talked about the cup because I think that's so important.
mhm.
Making sure we are taking care of us because we won't be in a position to take care of anyone else. And I think
Right.
it's also important to look at your circle. Make sure you have people who are pouring into you, that you're not just doing all the pouring. You're not just doing all the serving and giving, because like you said, that gas station or that gas station analogy, you'll be running on fumes.
Right.
Or the bank account or the ATM, you will be on in a negative. You will not have no funds available. That that notice that says NFA, no funds available. You don't want that.
That's so good. You know, as you were talking, the thing that I love that you said unapologetic, and Lisa said unapologetic has become my favorite addition to all things
Right.
for me and my self care. You know, Lisa, the thing that I even love about that is that same woman executive that I talked about, that her husband was done and her girlfriends are done. And the
Yes.
one thing I said to her is to hire a nanny. She's like, well, look at who told you you had to do everything? Girl,
Right.
you make enough money that you can hire a nanny. And I'm going to tell you, hiring help, getting help, and Dr. Rhonda just talked about this. What do you need? Really shifted everything. She got to have date night. She got to spend time with her
Right.
kids at night instead of coming home tired and doing homework. She got to go to Zumba with her girlfriends on Saturday. So you've got to start to look at what are the things that give you back you, that pour into
Yes.
cup, and make sure you do whatever you got to do to be able to do those things. Now, before we start to wrap up, Nikki asked a question, and I'm not sure I understand your question. You wrote, who has severe anxiety? So, Nikki, if you want to give us more context to that, then I'll have Dr. Rhonda answer that. And so while I'm waiting for Nikki to add that back up or to give us more context, Dr. Rhonda has a gift for you all. I want her to share what it is and tell you how to get it.
Sure, absolutely. So this gift is actually just my little e-booklet that I put together. They are seven tips that I have used to ignite my passion and my purpose. So for me, and I think a lot of us might be able to relate to this. Sometimes when we're going through difficulties, sometimes when we're going through challenges, we might feel like, man, I don't know what do I do with this? I'm just stuck. I'm just in this place. This doesn't make any sense. And you can't move forward. So
Mhm.
this ebook kind of, talks about, embracing the things that you already have, your skills, your talents, your abilities, your passions, using those things for to discover your purpose. And
Mhm.
then from there you can figure out, okay, well, how do I monetize this? How do I turn this into profits, impact, influence, and income? And so I know you are going to love this free gift, this download. It's going to be I'm telling you, it's going to be a game changer for you. It's the exact same formula that I use that got me to where I am today.
So good. And I want to
Mhm.
add to that. You know, one of the exercises that I have my clients do, and one that I do anytime I'm having a moment where I feel off, and if I can't, my counselor is now on speed dial. So when she's not available, because she's available to me 24/7, I do something called creating my already done list. I think so many of us focus, and you talked about this earlier, having that desire to succeed, that we are so focused on what we haven't done yet that we forget who we are and what we've already done. So here's your homework. Take out a piece of paper and write down everything you've already done. Whether you graduated from high school, we all got that, right? Even if you got your GED, you got that.
Mhm.
So those of you that graduated from college, or you had kids, or you got that award from work, or whatever that is, no accomplishment is too small. Maybe you got a divorce from that man that just wasn't honoring who you are, or the woman. So whatever that is, y'all, write out that already done list so that you can remember everything you've already done and you can celebrate yourself. And I think doing that then gets you in more of that unapologetic mode. And it allows you to really look at what do you need next to pour into you to get to that next thing you really, really want.
I love it. Wow.
So with that said, Dr. Rhonda, I don't see that Nikki gave us more context. So with that, listen, this is what Dr. Rhonda does, y'all. So if you need help, you need support, let me give you a hint. You said RhondaMWoods.com. You know that's her website, right? So her website is your website. I said her like it's not you. Tell us, how can people contact you if they want more?
Sure, absolutely. So I am Rhonda M. Wood on all social media platforms. My website is rhondamwood.com and my email is info@rhondamwood.com as well. So everything is very consistent. I would love to be connected with you. I would love for you to definitely grab my free gift there. I'm sure that it will be very useful for you. It'll be a game changer for you. I'm telling you. So yeah, let's stay connected for sure.
So with that, Dr. Rhonda, thank you for coming on. Thank you for being committed that we win from within. We didn't talk about that, but listen, she gave you so many tips to do the work that if you need more, reach out. She has so much more for you. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.
So that's it for this week's segment. She gave you so much, y'all. So much. Now, I also have a free gift for you. So, those of you that follow me week after week, you know I am all about you. Well, there's three things that I'm committed to and called to: faith, purpose, and profit. So, those of you that haven't heard, I'm in the middle. Today's actually the last day of a 3-day masterclass that I'm doing called the Purpose to Profit Masterclass. It's not too late. You get access to the replays that are available to you until Sunday, where I walk you through the 3 things you absolutely must do to create multiple revenue streams around your God-given purpose. So it's free. And all you've got to do is grab your seat. And again, you'll get the replays from day 1 and day 2. Tonight at 8 p.m. EST is day 3. Where I'm pouring into you tonight is multiply your profit. So I'm excited to be able to pour into you. And that's why when Black Doctor came to me and asked me to do this segment, I say yes, so that you can meet powerful women like Dr. Rhonda that are standing in the gap for you to win from within. And then you get tools and insight and strategy. So whatever that is for you, no matter where you are in your journey, I need you to assess where you are. Where do you need help first? And go and get that help. So with that said, last thing I'm going to ask you to do is, if you got any value out of today's segment, go to the bottom, wherever that share is for you on your screen, click the share button and share it with your network. Because you never know who is dealing with the mental health challenge, and they won't tell you because maybe they don't realize that's what's happening. So many people will be blessed by this word that Dr. Rhonda gave, but they can't be blessed if you don't share it. So don't be selfish. Don't keep it to yourself. Hit the button wherever it is, whether you're watching it on YouTube, whether you're watching it on Facebook, and share it with your network, okay? So again, I say thank you for joining me. I don't take your time lightly. I appreciate you. I honor you. And until next week, in our next segment, go and be all that God has called you to be. Thank you for joining me for this segment of Bankroll Your Breeze Thursdays.